You're standing in line. 10 seconds pass. Your thumb is already moving toward your pocket. You don't decide to do it, it just happens. Before the boredom even has time to form, it's gone, replaced by a scroll, a swipe, a flicker of something new. And here's the strange part. You used to be able to just stand there. Your ancestors did it for hours, days even. So what if the thing you're avoiding right now, that flat, itchy, empty feeling, is not a flaw in your brain at all? What if it's one of the oldest tools your species ever built? And what if you are among the last humans who will ever really feel it? Boredom feels like nothing. That's the whole problem with it. It feels like the absence of a feeling, a kind of psychological static. But researchers who study it closely describe something very different. Psychologist Sandy Mann, who has spent much of her career studying boredom at the University of Central Lancashire, found that boredom is not emptiness at all. It's a signal. A very specific kind of discomfort your brain generates when it wants something to change. Think about what that means. Boredom isn't broken time. It's a demand. Your mind, sitting in that line, staring at that wall, is not doing nothing. It's asking a question. What now? That question is old. Older than agriculture. Older than fire, maybe. For most of human history, there was no scroll to fill the gap. There was only the gap. A long walk with nothing to look at but grass. A night with nothing to do but wait for morning. And in that gap, something had to happen inside the skull, because nothing was happening outside it. Here's where the story gets stranger. In 2014, a psychologist named Timothy Wilson ran an experiment that became famous almost overnight. He put people alone in a room. No phone, no book, nothing to do but sit with their own thoughts for about 15 minutes. Simple, right? Except many participants hated it. Hated it so much that when Wilson gave them the option to press a button and give themselves a mild electric shock just to have something to do, a striking number of people chose the shock. Rather than sit quietly with nothing, they chose pain. Why would anyone do that? Because an idle mind isn't actually idle. It's working. And that work can feel unbearable if you're not used to it anymore. For most of human history, this internal work was not optional. It was survival. Long stretches of monotony, walking, foraging, watching a fire burn low, gave the brain exactly the kind of unstructured time it needed to do something remarkable. Simulate. Plan. Imagine what might happen tomorrow, or what happened yesterday, and what it meant. Cognitive neuroscientist James Dankert, who has studied boredom extensively at the University of Waterloo, describes it as a kind of engine stall. Your brain wants meaningful engagement. When it doesn't get that engagement, it produces the uncomfortable, restless sensation you know as boredom, specifically so you'll go looking for something better. In other words, boredom isn't the opposite of thinking. It's the on-ramp to it. Some of humanity's oldest ideas may have been born exactly there. Not in moments of frantic activity, but in the quiet, itchy stretches in between. A hunter noticing the pattern of animal tracks because there was nothing else to look at. A person staring into a fire long enough to start wondering where fire came from in the first place. Boredom, in this light, wasn't a problem to be solved. It was the space where problem-solving happened. So what changed? You did, or rather, the world around you did, and it changed fast. For roughly 300,000 years, the average human brain evolved inside long, unbroken stretches of low stimulation. Then, in the span of about 2 decades, that environment was rewired almost completely. A smartphone can now fill every possible gap, every red light, every waiting room, every ad break. The moment boredom starts to form, it's interrupted before it can finish forming. This isn't just a lifestyle change. It's a kind of environmental mutation, and your brain hasn't caught up to it. You're running very old software inside a completely new world. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Boredom, uncomfortable as it feels, seems to be linked to some of the most valuable mental processes you have. Studies on mind wandering, including work associated with psychologist Jonathan Schooler, suggest that when your brain drifts during boring moments, it often engages in exactly the kind of loose, associative thinking that produces creative insight. Not focused effort. Drift. the mental equivalent of letting a river find its own path instead of digging a canal for it. When you eliminate boredom, you may be eliminating the conditions that produce your best ideas. And you are eliminating it almost completely. Consider what a modern day looks like compared to almost any day in the previous 300 thou.